G'day everyone, Buck up in North Queensland for another quick reaction. Thank you, YouTube. Another quick reaction today. This one won't go as long as the first one. And this is a video that was on TV, or an advertisement that was on TV from the Queensland Police Union. And I think it was when they were trying to get us a pay rise back in the day. And this came out when I was actually still a police officer, a Queensland police officer. I was in between 2003, 2009, and then I changed over to corrections after that. But this ad was on TV from memory. And I'll tell you what, they did a pretty good job of it too. It shows the spectrum that police officers have to go through. And you'll see that it'll start off and it'll be all the touchy-feely stuff and all the good community sort of policing right through to everything we did. And what we might do is I'll play it through. It's only a short clip. I'll play it through, let you have a look at it, and then I'll rewind it, and then we can talk through, because absolutely everything in this video that you see, I did as a police officer, guys. It is just what happens when you're a police officer. And when they do all the recruiting stuff for police, they always touch on the touchy-feely stuff and community policing and all the nice they don't touch on some of the shit that happens behind the scenes and some of the horrible stuff police officers have to do and some of the shit that they have to deal with. And I'll tell you what, it was a dangerous job, guys. I had some incidents where my ass was doing the 50-cent, 5-cent thing on numerous occasions. I've had occasions where I've had my gun out on someone. You just never knew what was going to happen. And we all know what happened just before Christmas last year, when those 3 bloody doomsday preppers, those maniacs, shot those 2 young police officers, a young female and a young male out there in West Queensland. And they just walking up to make a routine inquiry, apparently, and got murdered. And to the CERT team, if anyone from that police CERT team is watching, well done on ridding the world of those 3 mongrels that murdered those 2 police officers. And that's what could have happened. I know my dad was a police officer for 30 years, Queensland police officer, nearly lost his life in 1981. Towards the end of his career, guys, Dad got brutally stabbed and almost lost his life. He was never the same again after that. He had to retire after that incident. And to the day he died, at the age of 87, which was about 8 years ago, Dad never recovered from those horrific injuries from the guy with that knife. So I know too well how dangerous being a police officer can be, because I saw what happened to my father, and I've also been in similar incidents. And luckily for me, when someone shaped up to me with a couple of big butcher's knives, I had a 40 caliber Glock hanging off my hip. Dad didn't at the time. It was back in the day where he was an old country cop, guys, and they didn't believe in carrying guns and that, and it nearly brought him unstuck. And don't know, it was just one of those things. And I did know that as soon as I saw those knives that day, I automatically thought, it's not going to happen to me what happened to my father. And the Glock was out of the holster, and luckily for old mate that was holding the knives, he had a quick think about it when I said, drop the knives or I'm going to give you a fucking third eye. And that's the exact words I said to him. Probably not out of the textbook that they teach you at the academy. That's what I said to him. I said, fucking drop them or I'll give you a third eye. And he fucking knew I was serious. And I had my Glock pointed straight between his eyes. You're supposed to point them at their chest, center of scene mass. I had it straight between his eyes, and he would have got a third eye. And I knew at that stage, you always wonder, could I kill someone and all that? I knew that day, if he took another couple of steps towards me, that's exactly what was going to happen. I had no doubt in my mind that I had what it took, or what it took to pull that trigger. And I got into that situation. Everyone knows I did 20 years in the army, guys. I never got to a situation where I got to shoot at someone. There was times where I was in a Black Hawk helicopter flying along the Indonesian border in East Timor, hanging out of a Black Hawk, and I was looking down, and I just thought, I just want to see a muzzle flash so I can let 30 rounds go, just to say I've done it. but it never happened. So, yeah, but seriously now, that day there, I've had a lot of other incidents involving knives and that. I've actually had an incident where I didn't even get to pull the bloody Glock out. The butcher's knife come flying at me, and luckily I ducked it, and I used the capsicum spray on that occasion. But on this one here, I did have time to take the gun out of the holster, and I knew then that I was capable of pulling that trigger. But luckily I didn't have to. Luckily I didn't have to, because you wouldn't believe it, Ros and I owned a fish and chip shop at the time. There was a little side business I had going on. Ros used to run the cafe, and that bloke came in about 2 weeks after that incident, and I was serving in the cafe. I was off duty. I said, "What are you after, mate?" And he goes, "Oh, I'll get some chips and gravy, please." And then he like looked at me as if to go, "Fuck, that's the bloke who nearly shot me the other day." Just a bizarre story, isn't it? Anyway, I'll stop jibber-jabbering. I've gone off track already. We're going to play this video if I can work out how to use this computer, play it through, and then I'll rewind it and we'll talk about some stuff, eh? Tell you a few stories. I've got heaps of them. Righto, let's go, Buck. Let's go. Work this computer out. As I said, this is an ad that was on TV from the Queensland Police Union.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces.
This song goes well.
Bright and early for the morning races, going nowhere, going nowhere.
Is there any weapons involved?
And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very
No, it's ramping up now.
Children waiting for a day to feel good. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Now I'm feeling like every child should. Sit and listen, sit and listen. And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad.
Drunken
Dreams
idiot.
in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very
Bit of salt charge there.
mad world.
Rightio. Get back on me. Yeah, so there you go. It's only short, but it's pretty hard hitting, isn't it? You know, and I've watched that heaps of times because I can just so relate to that. And that ad came out when I was actually a police officer, guys, back in the days when we still wore the light blue shirts. I think they look a lot better, don't they? I know the dark blue polos are more practical for general duties policing and that now. But, oh, no, it just looked better, innit? I know New South Wales police still wear the light blue. A lot of their Victoria and Northern Territory gone to black. Why? I do not know. How cool. Losing the gas out of my chair. How cool were the old Northern Territory police uniforms, the khakis with the white police cap. Geez, that was a slick looking uniform. And, you know, back in the day, back when we lived out in a little town called Cunnamulla in the early 70s, my dad, the Queensland police, all the country police, used to wear khaki uniforms. And I know that not so long ago, Western Australia, if you were in an urban like Perth or one of the big cities in Western Australia, they used to wear the blue, but the country coppers in West Aussie used to wear khaki as well. I don't think they still do. Let me know if you're from Western Australia out in the country. Do the police still wear khaki out in the country? Northern Territory's gone to black. like the NYPD. Can you believe, wearing black uniforms in the Northern Territory? What was anyone thinking? Who made that great idea? And the peanut who made that decision probably got promoted. That's the type of shit that goes on up the top. But anyway, we'll go through, play this through again, and I'll just pause it and we'll talk about each part of this video clip, because I can relate to every single part of this I had to do when I was a police officer, guys. So let me just try and get this back up again.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places.
So it starts off with a couple of cops strolling through looks like Mount Cootha in Brisbane or something there. A couple of coppers rolling through, doing a beat patrol, as we used to call it, on foot, and coming across a couple of fellas sitting on the park bench, doing nothing wrong, and having a chat. And that was, I used to love doing that. Like, I used to be a big believer when I first joined, is getting out of the car. And I used to go to when I was a field training officer, I'd say, we're not taking the car for the first hour, we're going to go on foot. I used to walk down the main street, go into the shops, say g'day, walk along be seen, see the blue shirts walking down the main street and say g'day to everyone. And it was just, people really loved seeing coppers walking around. The old beat patrol, as Dad said, 90% of the stuff they did when Dad's when he first joined the police back in 1953, everything was beat patrol back then. They didn't have cars to drive around. They used to go around in Brisbane City, and they were all on foot. And they used to call it the walk the beat. And people love seeing it. And people used to come up and say g'day to you. There's a lot of people out there. Not everyone hates the cops. A lot of people out there respect the police, which is the way it should be. Police need to earn respect. I get that. But a lot of especially the oldies, used to love seeing us on foot. Go in, get a cup of coffee from the local coffee shop and have a chat with everyone, walk down the end of the street, the main street, and slowly walk back saying g'day to everyone. And it was good too, because if there's any grubs around, they used to go, oh, the coppers are around. And that's what it was all about, presence. And if you look at the use of force wheel that corrections and police use, the use of force wheel, it's designed, and I might do a video on this at some stage. We used to use this use of force wheel, and there was no escalation. It was designed so that you could go from there to there. So one of them was presence. Another one was communication. And then it was handcuffs, accoutrements, and all that type of stuff. And people go, oh, no, you've got to work your way up. You can't just go from there to there. Yes, you can, because there's certain instances like the one I went to where I've run into a domestic violence situation and was confronted by a bloke with two bloody big butcher's knives saying, I'm going to stab you. So it went from presence to firearm straight up. And that's what that use of force wheel was designed to do. But this was a good part of the job, guys, walking around, having a chat with people. A mate of mine, Crowie, if you're watching, Crowie was great at it. Crowie used to love walking around and having a chat. And you reckon I can talk? Crowie could talk me under the table. Crowie loved going for a beat patrol and saying g'day to the locals. And I think that was a really good part of policing. These fellas here having a bloody morning chat. Coppers have come up and started having a chat with them. It's good stuff, isn't it? Faces, bright and early for the morning. This looks like it's on Mount Cootha in Brisbane. And you've obviously got some Asian tourists, seen some coppers. This is probably set up for the cameras, I'd say. I don't think the coppers normally do beat patrols up Mount Cootha. Not too many coppers I know probably make it up the top of there doing a beat patrol. That one you drive up. But anyway, it's pretty good for the cameras. And you see some tourists here, buddy, seeing the coppers and wanting their photo taken. I know my daughter was in London and she sent me a great photo once, Lauren, when she was in London. And her and a friend with a British bobby in between them. And Lauren was actually wearing the big bobby hat, you know, the big British police officer's hat. that they wear. And Lauren was actually wearing the Bobby's hat when she got the photo. So obviously he went, oh, a couple of young Aussie girls over on holidays, and the Pommy Bobby got his photo taken with them. And that's what it's all about. Another funny story. I'm on night shift one night. It was like a Friday night or whatever. So I'm outside the nightclub here. There's only one nightclub here in this town. And I'm outside. You know, we used to hang around outside the nightclub Friday, Saturday nights because that's where a lot of the fights broke out, drunken idiots and that. Anyway, there were some tourists, some backpackers, and they did this. They came up and wanted their photo taken with us. So, yeah, no worries. So I've done what this old mate in the middles here's doing, styling up with the female backpackers. Well, I'm getting my photo taken, and guess what happened? Roz decided to go out on the town with her sisters. So I'm getting my photo taken with the backpackers. I look up and Roz is staring at me. And if looks could kill, she like looked at me and it was the look of, wait till you get home, you're fucked. It was like, and I was like, look, I've been sprung. So anyway, yeah, Roz sprung me getting my photo taken with some backpackers one night outside the nightclub. And she wasn't impressed. And I had to do some smooth talking to get myself out of that one. But as I said, the one previous to this and this one, this is all the good part of policing. The part of policing that I really enjoyed. And when you go to the recruiting centre and that, this is the type of shit they show you. And you think that being a police officer is going to be like this. Well, as you can see later in the clip, it all starts turning to shit and you come back to reality very, very quickly. Especially when you're a general duties police officer.
Races, going nowhere, going nowhere.
Is there any weapons involved?
Obviously, something's gone down there. You know, something's got serious when they got to call the Special Emergency Response Team in. We're talking about CERT on my first clip, guys. CERT, Corrections Emergency Response Team. In Queensland, it's SERT, Special Emergency Response Team. And a good mate of mine I went through the academy with, Rowan, he went into the CERT team and then he changed over to the Federal Police and went into their special, I don't know what the Federal Police call there. It's either Special Operations Group or Tactical Response Group. But in Queensland, it's SERT, Special Emergency Response Team. Very, very tough course to get in. And things turned to shit. And as I said, when those 3 doomsday preppers out at Williambilla or whatever the name of that place was that murdered the 2 police officers last year, that was the CERT team that went in and got rid of them. And I'm so glad that they did minimal negotiation with those assholes because they're all 6 foot under now. The CERT team did a job on them. And that's what should happen. If you want to murder 2 police officers and an innocent civilian, they're in their place now. And well done to the CERT boys. Well done.
Find it kind of funny. I find it kind of sad.
Little girl lost in a shopping centre. A lot of the big shopping centres in Queensland have what they call a police beat. And you probably know, a lot of the big shopping centres, you'll see a police beat there for when people lose their stuff, shoplifting and all that type of stuff. And let me tell you, it's usually manned by just one officer or whatever. They usually keep pretty busy too because a lot of shoplifting and all that type of stuff. My God, a couple of years ago, someone got stabbed to death in Cairns Central. Someone was sitting there and someone came and stabbed him in the neck and killed him. Imagine that police beat officer at Cairns Central sitting there. Usually, there's some kids misbehaving outside this shop or whatever. Imagine getting the call. Someone's just been stabbed to death in the shopping centre. Shit goes real then. So, yeah, not good. But anyway, this officer that picks this little girl up is probably the officer that's part of the police beat of the shopping centre.
In which I'm dying.
Obviously we didn't have big briefs like this. Our station was never big enough. I know in the bigger stations, they'd have a morning brief, probably briefing all the officers on what's happened overnight and where all the crime's taken. This is probably in Brisbane, I'd say, and letting people know plans of attack and what's happening. And yeah, and that's what should happen every morning is you should get a brief. And we're a bit slack in our station. Should always be a handover. You always hand over to the afternoon shift. Day shift hands over to afternoon shift. We never did it. We should have been that 10-minute window where you sit down and you hand over. So if there's any outstanding issues from the day shift to the afternoon shift, and then from afternoon shift to night shift back to day shift, you have a briefing and keep everyone up to date. Communication is vital. It really is. Keeping everyone in the loop. But when I was in, well, we're like mushrooms, guys. They kept us in the dark and fed us shit. That was the old saying we had.
The best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell you. I find it hard to take when people run and.
I want to make a comment there. Sometimes we'd be around and the parents would go, they'd see the police walking up, if we're doing a beat patrol uptown or whatever, and they'd say to their little kids, watch out, if you're bad, the police are going to get you. And I used to say, don't teach them that. They were trying to say, oh, the police, and it's like teaching kids that police are the baddies and they're going to lock you up if you misbehave. I can see where the parents are coming from when they say that. They're trying to trick their kids into not misbehaving and that. But I used to say to them, you should be teaching your kids that you can trust the police. If you see the blue shirt, that we're not going to lock you unless you're doing the wrong thing. If you're doing the right thing, the police are there to help you. And when I used to hear people say that, oh, look out, the police are going to lock you up, I said, don't tell them that. You should be telling them that we're there to help them. And, it was just bad information from the parents. That young kid, she obviously trusts the police officer there, and that's the way it should be. Having trust, saying, I see a police officer, I'm safe. And that's the way it bloody should be.
Very, very.
Obviously starting to ramp up again, as you can see, starting to ramp up. This lady's been robbed by some scumbag who stole her handbag. And she's fallen down. I used to like that. When you caught these arseholes, it was always good if you caught them and no one was around. If you know what I mean. Caught a young turd once under someone's house. Anyway, shouldn't incriminate myself. He's been a bit cheeky to us. He was a juvenile, but he was old enough to know. He wasn't a little kid. He was 15 or something. Anyway, caught him under this house, and he gave us a gobful. So I've given him an open hander up the side of the ear. And just as I did, I look over, and the owner of the house had come downstairs and he saw me do it. And I thought, oh, fuck, here we go. He's going to report me for dishing out a bit of discipline to this young arsehole. Anyway, we threw this young fella in handcuffs. He was a piece of shit. And as I'm walking off, the old mate gives me a wink as if to go, good on you, mate. They deserve it. And I'm like, yeah. But if you did that now, you lose your job. Oh, I saw a police officer give this kid a clip around the ear. How many people do you hear now? Oh, the cop should give him a kick up the arse and that. As soon as they do anything like that, oh, that cop should lose his job. It's pathetic. It really is. Go back to the big stick treatment. And I tell you what's the only thing grubs understand is when they fuck up, there's consequences. And we've got too touchy-feely. And I'll talk more about that on future videos, guys. We're too friggin' touchy-feely now. We really are. And a lot of the power's been taken out of the police's hand. I'm not one of these guys who I've got a blue shirt on, I go out and dish out my own justice. I was never like that. But I was always one of those guys that if they fucking deserved it, then they got a bit. Well, foot chase, I got into a few of them and I didn't win many either. Let me tell you, when you're carrying a gun belt with a Glock, magazine, spare ammo, baton, mag-light torch, if it was night shift. What else did we carry? Handcuffs, pepper spray, OC spray. It was heavy. That gun belt was heavy and there was a lot of weight in it. Pull these young fellas over one day out of a car. They were doing something suspicious. I pulled them out, about 5 in this car. Well, about 18, 19. And I said, I'm going to search your car. You're all detained. I'm going to search your car and I'm going to search you guys because you're up to something. And I think we went past and you could see that they were trying to hide drugs or something in their car and they gave themselves away. So I'm talking to him, and I see this young fella. He's getting real twitchy, and I look. I thought he's going to do a runner on me. I said, "Don't you fucking run on me!" Sure enough, away he goes because he had a bag of dope in his pocket. So I'm after him, and for about 100 meters, I was keeping pace with him because I was a lot fitter then than what I am now. I was about 38. I was just out of the army type thing. Anyway, I'm running along, and I'm thinking, all right, he's not getting away from me. I'm keeping pace with him. Well, someone threw a bag of cement on my shoulders. The weight of the gun belt kicked in, and it was like, as I said, someone throwing a bag of cement on my shoulders, and he started getting away on me. And I thought, fuck, he's getting away on me. And as I saw it, he's got whatever, a bag of dope out of his pocket, and he's flung it out into a cane field. And I never ever found that bag of dope. It was out there and that. Anyway, he was getting away, and I thought, I'll try this one. I went, stop or I'll shoot, thinking he might go, fuck, this bloke might shoot me. It made him run quicker. And you got no authority to shoot him. Like I just yelled it out to see if it would make him stop, but it didn't. It made him run faster. So yeah, I didn't win too many foot chases, let me tell you. We were carrying too much shit. Maybe if it was in footy shorts and runners and a t-shirt, I might have had a chance. This here was one of the most fucked things about the job. Can anyone see what's happened there? The police are delivering this lady a death message. And it was one of the things that always had to be done. You never did it over the phone. It was always done in person. And if any time the police had turned up, sometimes we turn up on a front door of a house, knock on the door, and as soon as they saw the blue shirts, people would start crying and just having a meltdown. And you had to say, no, nothing's wrong. Nothing, I'm just making an inquiry, because a lot of people thought, shit, if the police turn up on my front door, someone's dead. And that's what's happening. They're probably telling this lady her son's been killed in a car accident, or her husband's just been killed, I had to do a couple of them, guys, and let me tell you, it wasn't pleasant. It was the most fucking shit thing about the job, was having to deliver death messages. One time there, we buddy go out into the jungle and carry a young fella through the jungle. He had a heart attack out pig hunting. Only a young bloke too. And anyway, we had to carry him through the jungle and get him back to the morgue. And then I had to take the family up. The family had to identify him. And just standing there in the morgue with his family, having to identify him and seeing their reaction and everyone crying and that, it was just shit. It was absolute shit. It really was. So one of the more unpleasant things about police officers is delivering death messages.
Children waiting for a day to feel good, happy.
Oh, mate, got the Falcon just about airborne there. Obviously, a bit of a chase going on. My ever first car chase, they brought in a thing while I was a police officer. They had a no pursuit policy, and I think that still exists now. But back in the day, when I first joined, you could chase. Anyway, old mate's in a stolen car one day. He does a runner from us, and I'm in an old 4-cylinder Hilux, petrol Hilux paddy wagon, and it could do about 160 max. Anyway, he was getting away on me, and it was in the rain too. And either female copper beside, she's going, go faster, he's getting away on us. I said, I'm fucking doing 160. She's flat to the floor. I can't go any faster. And I didn't want to go any faster either because it was raining. It was frigging dangerous chasing this bloke. Anyway, he was starting to get away on us. He was in an old Cortina or something. Anyway, we kept visual sight. Anyway, he tried to turn a corner off the highway and ended up sliding off into a power pole. And luckily, the car was damaged. He wasn't hurt. But by the time he got his seatbelt off and that, I was out of the paddy wagon and dragged him through his window, basically, and threw him over the bonnet of his car and handcuffed him and that. And that was my first ever car chase. But they are bloody dangerous. And I think they've got a no pursuit policy now. There's good and bad things about that. There really is. I think they need to come back.
Happy birthday, happy birthday. Now I'm feeling like every
this one here. This one, I'll talk in depth about this.
child should sit and listen, sit and listen.
So that one there, that looked like it. it was pretty realistic, that, wasn't it? I don't know if that was acting there or I know there was a camera there. Maybe it was. It was good acting if it was. Domestic violence situations as a general duties police officer, worst things you could go to. And they were non-stop, guys. We go to 2, 3 a shift sometimes, and the paperwork involved was ridiculous. But that one there, old mate's giving his missus a toweling up, and old mate's come through the door with his mag light, and it's going to be game on. All right. And that one there hits pretty. That happened. I went to a lot of violent domestic violence situations, guys, where I've got into some bloody big altercations with with old mate. And I went there one night to a job. He towed his missus up like that. And as we came through the door, he goes, "What do you pig cunts want?" Excuse my language, but that's what he said. He goes, "What do you pig cunts want?" Well, red flagged or bull, I flogged fuck out of him. And he got it. As I said, we didn't have cameras in that back in those days. And I flogged fuck out of him while his missus watched me do it. And it got to the stage where my partner had to drag me off. I lost me cool, guys. I fucking lost me shit. And I don't tolerate people bashing women up. And I certainly don't tolerate people talking to me like that as a police officer. What do you pig cunts want? I just didn't tolerate that shit. It was just, I go from 0 to 100. Anyway, we arrested him and took him back to the station. And I said to the sergeant, "I've got to take him to hospital. He's not looking real good." And Gary, the sergeant, said, "Bring him around here. We'll have a look at him." Anyway, he gets out of the back of the troop carrier. We had a big cage in the back of the Toyota troop carrier. He goes, "Get out." And he goes, "You want a smoke, mate?" And old mate goes, "Yeah, Sarge." And gives him a smoke. And his eyes were all fucking puffed up and that. I give him a few good ones. And he goes, "No, you'll be right." And took him down the watch house, charged him with domestic violence. And a couple of weeks later, he sees me in the shopping centre. I was off duty, and he comes straight for me. I thought, here we go. She's going to be on the shopping centre. I think I flicked the thongs off and flicked the pluggers off, the flip-flops, if you're watching in America. And he comes up and goes, "You remember me?" I said, "Yeah, I do." And he puts his hand out to shake my hand. He goes, "I want to apologise for the other night." And he goes, "I deserved everything I got." And I thought, good on you, mate. Good on you. Here's a good crim. That basically took it on the chin, literally. But he said, "Mate, that will never happen again. I was way out of line, blah, blah, blah." He said, "Me and the missus are going to counselling and all that." I said, "Well, good on you, mate." I said, "You know, we can't tolerate you bashing your missus up." And he said, "Yep, I'm aware of that." So he didn't make any complaints against me in that. He knew he was in the wrong, and he is a good old crim. He fucking knew he deserved. He said, "I deserve that for flogging me missus." So good on him.
And I find it kind of funny.
Dealing with drunken idiots on a Friday and Saturday night, fights, it happened all the time.
I find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying.
That was the other thing. Young drunken females like this. "Oh, our friend's been drugged and her drink was spiked." And you bring them around, put them on the alcometer, and they blow like 0.32. They're rat-assed. And you got to sit there. And that used to piss me off, these young, drunken females. Jesus, I had a low tolerance for them.
The best I've ever had.
Well, that's their mate there. He's obviously, I might be out of line here. Oh, their mate might have been assaulted going by that. But I went to a lot of jobs where young females unconscious on the footpath, and it's because they've drunk too much. It wasn't because their drink was spiked. They were pissed.
I find it hard to tell you. I find it hard to...
That one there reminded me. I went to a party one night, some teenagers out of control, and me and a bloke called Frithy turned up. We're in the paddy wagon. Frithy's dead now. He passed away, guys. Bloody motor neurone disease. What a top bloke. Anyway, we turned up and the beer bottles started coming for us. Nearly took my head off. Anyway, we quickly quelled that and grabbed a couple of bodies. Anybody will do. And they hit that back of that paddy wagon at Mark 3. And so you want to throw beer bottles at us? That's what happens.
When people run in circles,
that punch there. They're the punches that kill people. Did you see that punch just then? We'll go back.
Run in circles, it's a
That was sickening, wasn't it? That punch. Oh, mate, he got him right on the chin. He's knocked out, and there's a fair chance he's probably hit his head on the concrete, and that's how people die. And next thing you know, that bloke who threw the punch, he's getting charged with maybe attempted murder or more than likely manslaughter, and is going to go to jail for probably 8 years. So when people are full of piss, you can't reason with them, guys. All you got to do when there's fights like this, you don't run in and start reasoning with people. You start grabbing people in headlocks. You start capsicum spraying them, spray them, headlock, into the paddy wagon. That's the only way you deal with situations like this.
very, very mad world.
And old mate there, I can tell what's going through his brain. He's thinking, what a fuck night. And I've got about 18 hours of paperwork waiting for me when I get back to the station. That's what's going through his head. Poor bugger. Ordinary people facing extraordinary things. That's very well said. Rightio. What do you think of that? Anyway, there's a few stories for you guys. Hope I didn't incriminate myself too much then. But I was a bit old school, guys. And I was trying to brag. I never, ever put my hands on anyone who didn't deserve it. If they deserved it, then they got it. And I was a bit old school, and I probably wouldn't be a good fit for the new police. It's changed a lot now. And even corrections, and we'll talk more about that. Probably why I got so frustrated in corrections is I'm all for treating people fairly, and I was one of the fairest guys that you'd ever come across. But when people go across the line and start assaulting people and assaulting you, there's got to be consequences. And our court systems now, I hope I don't go off on a rant here, our court systems in Australia are fucking pathetic. Our justice system is broken. The police go out and do a good job, rounding the grubs up, and they keep getting out. They keep fucking committing more offences. Someone got stabbed to death the other day, and the person that stabbed him was on bail for murder. I don't know if it was in Victoria. How does that happen? Someone is on bail for murder. I just cannot believe they're giving bail for murder. I know that Benjamin Rolfe, the police officer in the Northern Territory, who was found not guilty, and we'll talk about that down the track. He was on bail when he got charged with murder, and I agreed with that one because everyone knew he wasn't frigging guilty of murder. Even the courts, it went through court. But someone who'd already stabbed someone and killed them was on bail for murder. He gone and stabbed another person. I cannot believe that. Our magistrates and our judges are weak as piss. I used to sit in court, guys, as a correctional officer and a police officer too. To sit in there in district and Supreme Court and used to listen to the fucking excuses the judges used to come up with to justify them not sending someone to jail or giving them a minimum sentence and all that. And we keep harping on about, we're going to up the maximum sentence here to 20 years for this. No one ever gets the maximum anyway, unless they go down for murder. No one gets the maximum. They've got to start bringing in mandatory minimum sentencing, and that might stop the crime rate. But anyway, that's for another video, eh? And that won't be the last time you hear me bag out on our justice system. The young juveniles in Cairns and Townsville and Mount Isa are out of control at the moment, and they keep fucking getting off with a slap on the wrist, and people have had a gutful. They've had an absolute gutful. Anyway, there you go. There's my second reaction. I get a bit wound up. This one here was dear to my heart, guys, because everything in that video I can relate to and I've been through when I was a police officer, especially the domestic violence side of things. That was just bullshit. Like the amount of bad DVs I went to wasn't good at all. I'll tell you some more stories. I've had some DVs that went south real bad, weapons involved and all that type of stuff. Anyway, take it easy. Be good to your local coppers. Show them a bit of support. And listen, I know when you get a speeding ticket, you think, arseholes, because I've had one myself. I've had a few speeding tickets. And you think, you arsehole, you could have given me a warning, but they do it for a reason, guys. So just remember, if you're in a small town or whatever, go up to your local copper. Just say, g'day, mate, how are you? It means a lot to them. All right, take it easy. We'll catch you again soon, eh? Bye now.